You know, they say that friends are supposed to be there for you in tough times, but what happens when their need for help turns into a bit of a burden? Well, let me take you back to a couple of weeks ago when a crazy storm hit my town, and I found myself in the middle of a very unexpected predicament. It was one of those winter storms that hits with little warning but leaves a trail of chaos in its wake. My friends Sarah and Mike had it rough. The power went out in their home, leaving them shivering in the dark with no heat or hot water. As luck would have it, or maybe it's just the way things were meant to be, the lights in my house were still glowing, thanks to some good old-fashioned luck and a relatively new generator. When they reached out to see if they could crash at my place for a few nights, I immediately said yes. I mean, I couldn't let them freeze, right? Friends help friends, after all. So there I was, the gracious host, welcoming them into my warm home without a second thought. The first night went smoothly. We cooked together, shared stories from when we were all in college, and laughed over cups of hot cocoa. It felt good, being there for one another. But as night turned into day, the reality of their extended stay started to settle in, and I began to notice certain things. Sarah and Mike were charging their phones and laptops like there was no tomorrow, and who wouldn't when you finally have access to electricity again? But when it turned into hours upon hours of charging, I started to raise an eyebrow. And then there were the showers. Oh man, the showers. Seriously, 30 to 40 minutes each? I firmly believe in the importance of self-care, but did they really need to turn my bathroom into a spa oasis? Yet, I kept my mouth shut. I didn't want to come off as rude. They were my friends, and here they were, trying to make the best of a pretty dire situation. I was happy to help, but as the days went on, I also couldn't ignore one nagging thing. My electric bill was going to be through the roof at this rate. Then came the day I dreaded. The bill arrived, and as I opened it with my heart pounding, my stomach dropped, nearly double what it usually was. My jaw went slack. I'm 25, struggling with the regular bills and expenses that come with being an adult. Losing nearly $80 felt like a hit I couldn't absorb, and as much as I loved my friends, this was starting to feel like too much. So I sent a message to Sarah and Mike. My thought being, this is what friends do. They help each other out in time of need, and sometimes that means contributing a little extra, right? I wasn't asking for rent or anything outrageous, just a small share of the extra costs. 50 total, split evenly. You'd think I just declared war. Sarah freaked out on me, saying I was being ridiculous. What's the point of having friends if you can't help them out in an emergency? She shot back, her tone laced with anger. Mike chimed in, saying it was unfair since I hadn't told them up front that I would charge them for the utilities. I was taken aback. Was I really being unreasonable here? For days after that conversation, things were awkward. Their messages went from friendly banter to curt replies, and I could feel the distance stretching between us. I started to doubt myself. Was I really the bad guy here? I mean, I get it. They were in a tough spot, but shouldn't there be a limit to how much one friend should absorb, even during an emergency? I felt guilty for needing them to chip in, but at the back of my mind, the electricity bills and grocery expenses didn't stop rolling in just because my friends had a short-term crisis. I wanted to be a good friend, but I also needed to take care of myself. After a few days of silent treatment mixed with awkward interactions, I decided to reach out to them one more time. I asked them if we could talk things through. In my heart, I missed my friends and hated the rift that had formed over what I thought was a simple request. When we finally sat down to discuss everything, I poured my heart out, explaining how I felt. To my surprise, rather than just simply understanding my point of view, Sarah seemed to reflect on her initial reaction. "It's not that I didn't appreciate your help," she admitted. "I guess I just thought your home would be a safe haven. I didn't think about the costs involved." Mike nodded, and we ended up having a deeper conversation about the boundaries of friendship during difficult times. In the end, they agreed to chip in the $50, but more importantly, we connected again. We realized that sometimes love and friendship can get messy, especially when everyone is battling their own storms. It was an emotional roller coaster, but one that helped strengthen our bond in a strange way. Now I'm back to where I was, enjoying my warm home, but I'm eager to hear your thoughts. If you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Would you have just let it slide, or would you have stood up for yourself, too? What do you think is the line between helping a friend and taking on an unfair burden?